Thank you for staying with us. Now, this morning we've been having male-led conversations, and it's only right for us to switch things up right now. The segment on air right now is Women at the Forefront, where we bring you women from this country who are doing exemplary well in the different fields that they are in. Today is no different. I have with me a lady by the name of Brenda Ogutu. Brenda Ogutu is the Associate Engagement Director at Busara, and her interest is in research in behavioral economics, and her focus mainly is on citizen empowerment and governance, particularly in women leadership. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure having you on the show, and it's time for us to bring at least some female energy in this, right?
I was wondering where's the female vibe? There's a lot of male-dominated conversations, but I'm happy to be here.
All right, here we are now. Let us begin with you just explaining to us what behavioral economics is first.
Yeah, so behavioral science, behavioral economics is the study of human decision making. So as you know from macroecon, we talk about rational human decision making, that people know what's good for them. They, for example, would want to keep fit, as we all have come up with goals in January, but the intention to do an action is not usually the same as completing the action. So behavioral science tells us that we have biases in our decision making. So we try to understand, what are those barriers? What are those biases, be it social norms, be it, risk aversion, what is preventing us from doing that, what is good for us. So that is the study of, basically understanding that and being able to bridge that gap between the intention and the action. So we intervene with different ways. We, first of all, understand what the problem is with the community, and then co-design solutions and basically test what works, given that now we understand what is preventing them from, acting in the way that they should.
I hear you on that, definitely. And now, today's conversation, I wanted to be, I wanted to incline more on women, and specifically on women taking up space. Women taking up space in leadership, women taking up space financially, women taking up space, generally just women taking up a space, right? So maybe what sparked your interest in getting into this, because this is what you are passionate about?
Yeah, so my background is in urban planning, and a lot of that is includes research. We are basically in the process of making development plans. We go into the ground, like conduct public participation events, talk to people, understand their needs, their priorities, and then in turn, put that into the development plan. Though sometimes you go to the field and you do not see people coming to attend those community meetings or attend those public engagements. So I basically felt that I should focus my energy on getting people to understand the need for getting your voices heard, because for all the services that we are fighting for, like from the government, we want health services, we want, inclusion and all of this, it can only happen if you put your voice to it. So even the policy process, we require people to come and participate and tell us their views in order for us to actually make policies that are inclusive. So I felt the need to now go into research, but more targeted to empowering citizens to engage, particularly youth and women who were at that time, because it's been quite a while, were not so included in these civic activities. So, there was not enough data to show how much women are involved, and I thought, use my skills in research. I do really love unearthing solutions and digging data to find out how we can better use that for solutions. So that is how I transitioned from urban planning, which is still a good passion for me, and I still intend to use behavioral science to improve that sector. But for now, using my skills to research and find out the gaps that we have in youth and women or citizens, involvement in policy making the process.
And just to pick up on that, maybe what are some of these gaps? What are some of these barriers that maybe you may say are preventing women from taking leadership roles in policy, in this policy making spaces, and also just in economic spaces?
Generally, so typically I can talk about, we have structural barriers, the typical ones are, finance or not having time and all of that. But for my job as a behavioral scientist, we try to look at the behavioral barriers as well. I can give an example of social norms. Like typically women are more thought of for gender roles, like, you know, you should be in the house, take care of the children. And sometimes it kind of gets to you and you start, you know, thinking that's my role. So the higher you grow and the less time you have, because there will be less time as you're taking up more leadership roles, you tend to start becoming a little more comfortable so that you don't have enough time for leadership. So the gender roles kind of affect you, even your mindset. So we try to figure out how to change that mindset and give people confidence, or give women confidence to take up, you know, leadership roles. So, and even like in terms of social norms, people tend to think that leadership roles are for men, you know, because they're more confident, they're more assertive. If a female is as like that, it might come off different than if a man like talks in a certain way. So females tend to not want to be seen as that, you know, more assertive and all of that. But we're trying to break that barrier so that, you know, women can feel more confident to take up roles. And now we see more role models. I think with social media, it's a good trend in terms, one good thing I can say about social media is that now women are more likely to see other women in those positions. It's not enough. We still need more role models.
Absolutely.
And more opportunities to see women in leadership. But I can say that, you know, you're more likely to see a woman, even that this platform to give me to at least show other women that this can be done is one way that you can start like breaking those barriers. And even just in terms of conditioning, typically women thought of themselves as, you know, service industry or not really STEM or technical, economic types of work. So it's more of now starting to gain that confidence that you can go into STEM, you can go into economics, you can go into policy making because you have enough to offer. So just breaking that bias from yourself, can go a really long way.
Yeah, and just maybe to pick up on the societal norms, maybe just how has this changed, specifically societal perception of women, especially in taking up leadership roles? How would you say that has changed maybe over the past decade or two? Are we headed to the right direction? Are we at a place where you can say that, okay, compared to how the perception was 2 decades ago, and now we are at least making some steps?
I can say we are making some steps because I do see more women in leadership. Like some of the policies we've had for like gender quota in political seats, for example. Although I will say that we do need better implementation in that case, but even having such a policy can at least push people to see that women can do that. So even the nominated seats, and you see women doing good jobs and good work, it inspires other women to also take up this role. So the change in the way, even as I mentioned, the digital economy, like helps us see that women are doing these things. The visibility is a lot more. There's still more definitely that we can do, and we are in terms of like implementation of these policies that we do have. Even companies now give out gender reports on their diversity and inclusion, so you're able to see, they are able to see like how they can do better in terms of including women. So I think even in the private sector, with people doing more to highlight what they do for gender inclusion. Even right now, when you do pitch for research proposals, you will find gender inclusion statements that require us to have a gender-focused mind. Like when you are talking or completing your projects, you have to include females, think about their needs. Even part of the research project itself has to have female in the leadership or even in the project itself. So I think in that way we are doing better, even giving more capital for women to pursue their businesses, to start up their own types of work, or, you know, go into business basically. So we have more, like, you can see venture capital, you can see a lot more capital going into that area, and that's why I think we can continue to focus more of our energy to give women a chance to start their own businesses, not only formal employment, because that's kind of getting congested. So you even empower women to be leads in their own businesses.
And in line with that, maybe just how can cooperatives, you know, what role do they have in this, and how can they now work on empowering more women financially?
Yeah, I think the cooperative movement has a lot of potential. It was put on the back burner for a while, but it has a lot of potential in that it allows women, for example, and I'm talking about strong cooperatives that are resilient and sustainable. Part of my work is we partner with civil society organizations for them to empower cooperatives. And in that way, we are able to get women more access to capital. They can start their own businesses, access to market, because, you know, a strong cooperative is able to market itself and bring in more business. So women are able to get jobs. And then in terms of savings, they're able to save more. Some of the cooperative principles include, you know, equity and equality, which if a cooperative adheres to, they're able to include women in the leadership, in the boards, because typically like less women are in the boards of not just cooperatives, like typically most organizations. So if we help them to be sustainable and resilient, they then adhere to these principles and allow women to take up leadership roles. And when that happens, definitely women are able to advocate for their own rights and their own needs within like the cooperative, and be able to empower other women from the grassroots to do better.
Yeah, and also in all of this, maybe what role do men play? And I'll say men allies. You know, what role do men allies, you know, need to play in all of this?
Yeah, if I can make it a little personal, like some of the challenges women have, like I mentioned, is striking that work-life balance, because typically the gender role is the domestic burden or care burden is on females. So I think men should now, which they are, a lot of them are taking up more responsibility on sharing that care burden as they should, and supporting women to build their skills, to build their capacity. I think once we are able to share the burden domestically, share the burden in the community, and even men themselves, like not empowering, but like more so educating their peers and other men to understand the benefits that a woman brings to society, which is, I guess, a human benefit that we bring to society. So we do have a lot of male allies, definitely. Yeah, I'm here because there's somebody obviously like supporting me, and the male community, the male members of the community being there for me and for everyone else. So that definitely is one way for us to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you know, there's this statement that is usually made that I really don't like. You know, they say that women are their worst enemies. So maybe what would you say, or what would be your take on women fostering more collaboration rather than competition?
Yeah, I know there's that saying which I also don't like.
Yeah.
Actually, I lead a all-female team right now, and we build each other and, you know, work together really well. It's more of being professional in their capacities. So there are different networking events where women can learn from each other. Actually, when we were talking about cooperative, I thought of the event that's coming up on 7th March, where it's a luncheon for women to come together, specifically cooperative women, to learn from each other. I think we should, if you're in a position of leadership, you have the responsibility of pulling up other women, you know. In my role right now, I need to be able to mentor people below me and mentor youth, so that because I've already gone through the journey, I can already like identify what worked and what didn't. And now it's my role to definitely take that down to other youth and specifically women, so that they can see what's been done and what's not been done. Because, you know, the issue is that you think it's going to be hard, it's not going to. Okay, fine. It will be hard, because anything is going, like that. If you're breaking barriers, going to be hard. But there are definitely a lot of opportunities right now. Skills building, all of that can help us. And yeah, it's our role as women to empower the women, or to show them the way, basically, that you have already gone through, instead of having them go through the whole struggle that you also went through.
Exactly, and it is doable. You know, as much as the opportunities are there, it's also, I think, proper to just let the younger women know that these things are doable. You know, they are not just men-led. You know, also women can also get into some of these boards and institutions, and also just be able to do it. Yeah. So maybe what would you say are some initiatives or policies that have been working, you know, that have been effective when we talk about matters women, and also what are some that you feel should be put in place, and also if implemented would really work for women of this country?
Yeah, definitely the gender quota can, if implemented correctly, can work for getting more women in the public service boards, in private boards or even just leadership in general. I feel like if we implement that policy, it will be good. And talking about different programs on digital and financial literacy, because even for women in rural areas or even lower income areas who are typically not reached by this. So I feel like if we implement these policies, but especially also in marginalized areas that we typically sometimes forget about, that can go a long way. And this inclusion of gender perspective in programs or in projects, be it public or private, I feel like has been doing a good thing in getting us to think about gender, because right from the start of the project or the program, you're able to see, like, where can I include more women? We need them in a board so they can make the better decision. So not in terms of like having just one woman to give you perspective, but like actually having women whose votes matter in the work. And then I was speaking a lot about the work-life balance. I think companies now are really doing well in terms of, I don't want to say really for everyone, but they're starting to do well in terms of like parental policy. One good trend I think is the hybrid work or even remote work allows women to, you can lead and also do your domestic chores if you want to, depending on your arrangement within the domestic house. But that parental equal pay, I think there needs to be transparency in payment, so that, because I think one of the challenges as women is we don't want to push so much, you don't want to come off so aggressive, which I would actually tell women to start to be advocating for their own rights. But one way as we are doing that is also to be transparent. So I don't want to come to a company and start saying, please pay me X. No, you'll just be like, this is what everyone in this position is paid. And I think companies are starting to do that. And policies regarding equal pay definitely would go a long way in getting women to be in those leadership positions.
Are there any, maybe one or two success stories that you are willing to share with us, where research and behavioral science has led to a tangible improvement, of women in leadership and their economic growth as well? Yeah,
so part of my work, as you mentioned, I work in the governance sector or portfolio, and part of my work is strengthening the capacity of civil society organizations in order for them to empower citizens and even the cooperatives. So one of my greater partners is working with cooperatives, and our research or partnered research has led to a cooperative measurement resilience index. So ways for us to measure the resilience of cooperatives, but not us as the research assistants. We empower them to be the ones who actually understand their resilience. So in terms of behavioral science is helping our CSO to understand how to do research, how to better target their communities. And then two is to empower them to understand the human decision-making process. So another resource I can talk about is our low-cost message testing guide, which we developed in order to assist our CSOs to know how to communicate better, communicate policies, communicate needs, communicate to the citizens and all of that. So we have resources that we've developed and are working with CSOs to implement. So the CRMI, which I was talking about, has enabled us to work with over 50 cooperatives through our partner, and they're able to understand their resilience and then improve. So we did a longitudinal study that is in the research to understand how this index has supported them. And you can find that cooperatives come and tell you, we didn't know that we don't have enough gender. We didn't know that we need to do CSR. We're not doing enough CSR, because a lot of these cooperative principles and values lead to their sustainability. So through our research and understanding their needs and everything and how they make the decision, we're able to develop tools and resources that they can actually use. And even right now, our partner has a digital platform where now cooperatives can do that. As you know, we're moving to a digital world, and most of the cooperatives are still in rural areas or are engaged in activities that they don't have the opportunity to go into digital. So we are trying to improve their capacity in that way so they can see the need. Because part of our work is convincing, having interventions that allow them to see the barriers and be able to break those barriers. So we are able to do that through these resources. I think that's one success story of the resources that we are currently, actually we are implementing in the longer term, because change doesn't come. I wouldn't say we change behaviors in a day or two or one project. It can't happen overnight, of course. No, it's several years that we've been partnering with CSOs. Yeah, that's a good thing. Now maybe as we almost come to a conclusion of this conversation, maybe would you say that the younger generation of women now, who are also you and me, you know, the younger generation of women now are more open to taking up space? You know, there has been a conversation on, you know, women are being empowered more now, that the boy child is being forgotten. Would you say that's the case, or you feel like women still have a long way to go in terms of empowerment? And are we ready now to take up space as the younger generation of women, even the ones that are behind us, the Gen Zs and the alphas that are just coming up? Yes, I feel like women right now are more comfortable and confident. There's still a lot. I feel like in terms of gender, male versus female, we still need to be more visible, like get more confident and all of that. So I wouldn't say that the male child is being forgotten. Maybe I'm being, I don't know what's going to happen with the men watching, but I do feel like we still can do a lot more for our women in terms of empowering them. And I do appreciate all that's being done, you know, pushing them into STEM, helping them understand this civic education a lot more right now. And like I mentioned, all those capital and grants and everything, trying to push women. But we are taking up more space, and I'm starting to see a lot more women. I almost forgot I'm youth, because I'm still also looking at like the people above us, and I like to see the progress so far, but hoping to see even more, you know. But we're doing, I would say, I feel like we're doing better, because even, you know, our organizations right now have a little bit more. I'm going to say a little bit more, because it's still a lot more men in the high positions, but we're starting to creep up on them.
All right, now maybe what innovations or what trends are you really excited for in the future? You know, matters what we've been talking about, that is economic development for women.
Yeah, so we have, we are now more digital, there's more social media. I feel like we can take advantage of online businesses, like a lot more women are able to market and have businesses online. So I like that, and even in terms of digital literacy and financial inclusion, right now we are able to empower women to understand financial services, be able to take part in the digital economy. So I feel like we are headed in the direction that we should be right now. Okay. You had touched on the Women in COPS networking luncheon. Kindly just tell us a bit about when it's going to be happening, and maybe where, for the woman who may be watching and would love to come on board. Yes, so we have a women's luncheon that's coming up. Well, I'm going to say we, because I feel like I'm part of the cooperative movement right now through research, and it will be happening on 7th March. We will have different women from different spaces in Kenya. It's going to be around, obviously, International Women's Day, so we want to use that opportunity to bring women together in a space of networking. So like I mentioned, networking is one way for women to see other women do good and, you know, share ideas and share everything. So this is an opportunity to come together with women and discuss all of that. All right. Final question to you is just for you to speak to the young lady. As you said, this is Women at the Forefront, and the main basis of this segment is just to get to inspire a woman who's out there. Maybe what advice would you give to a young lady who's watching us right now and it feels like they want to step up now and take up space, you know, in leadership, in economic development and all of that? Just a word for them. Yes. If you have an inkling that you want to step up, I think do it. Because I think we have the tendency to want to be perfect in the current role. You want to have all the skills that you can have in the current role before you challenge yourself to go to the next one. So I would encourage women to just push yourself and be visible. Another thing about visibility is that you need people to see what you can do. You know, I may be able to do really good work, but nobody knows. So I think be more visible, showcase your talent. Now we have LinkedIn, you can even showcase what you can do and what you have. And the same LinkedIn with other platforms allow you to build your skills. So don't wait to, you know, get the job and then build your skills. As you are stepping up, also you're building your skills. Be ready for the next position before it arrives. So I think that will allow women to, you know, have the skills and everything. Even taking informal leadership roles within your community. So we're not waiting to just be, let's say, an MP. You can just lead by being you and do those leadership roles within your community, even within your organization. You know, there are those activities that companies usually do and ask, okay, who wants to lead? And, you know, if you're trying to be a leader, I think that's one way to be visible, to take part in such activities. And even as you are growing into these roles, recognizing that, yes, there will be competing needs and priorities, but yeah, you can do it. So just